When people say something's impossible, everything's been done, that just means everything's not been done. They just don't know.
They say if we build it, they will come. It's nice to have the ability to start small and to grow as the demand requires. Now we're able to build in a way that allows us to scale if what we've built is popular.
We are moving into AI-driven era where AI takes care of higher order activities.
Today's tools are allowing people to execute if they have the grit and determination.
People build what they can imagine.
Please welcome Amazon Web Services Vice President, Worldwide Public Sector, Dave Levy.
Hey. Good morning, and welcome to the AWS 15th annual, AWS's annual Public Sector Summit in Washington, D.C. Okay, thank you. The 15th summit we've held. Okay, so many of you were with us last year at this time. And I had this incredible story that the team had written and I had practiced over and over. And that story was designed to inspire you and compel you to act. And I had practiced it. And I came out here to deliver that story. And for those of you that were here last year, if you remember, we got interrupted. And I didn't get to tell that story the way that I really wanted to tell it. That story was about Rip Van Winkle sleeping through a revolution. And I didn't want any of us to sleep through the revolution in front of us. It occurs to me 1 year later, now that we're back, I don't need to tell that story. The revolution's already happened. You're doing amazing things with cloud, generative AI, machine learning. The revolution is over. It's time for building. And it's time to be putting down the building blocks for the future. And that's exactly what happened in 1791 after the American Revolution. There's a park about 12 miles away from here called Jones Point. And it's where surveyors laid the first building block, the first marker outlining DC's boundaries. It's this south cornerstone that was set in 1791. And if you walk through that park, there's actually a sign at the very south point that reads, DC's first building block. So you have to wonder, if those people who laid that first marker envisioned what this city would become, the importance it would take on, the influence and power it still holds. I think they maybe had a vision, maybe they had a sense for that, but regardless, they had to build something. I believe that's where we all are today, that we have to start somewhere. So for them, it meant breaking ground on the four cornerstones, which would eventually become Washington, D.C. For all of you here today and for all of us, I think we've got a few things in common with those city planners. Your organization has a mission, a belief, you want to build something, and you have to start somewhere. And luckily for all of us, building is a lot simpler than it was 234 years ago. For us at AWS, the concept of building blocks is fundamental to how we invent. Our services, our features, they help you bring all of your impactful ideas to life. We give you the core elements you need to build, to deploy generative AI and unlock all the potential that it has. The tools to create remarkable things. Now, before we dig in on all of this, I just want to thank our global sponsors who help us produce the Summit Series. I want to thank our Emerald, Platinum, and Gold sponsors for their contributions. I want to thank our Silver, Bronze, and Exhibitor sponsors for their support. And you can learn more about them by visiting the Expo Hall, where you can visit us tonight for a networking reception. Now, let's get back to building. When you're building anything, a strong foundation is the most important thing. And at AWS, security is the foundation. It's always been our foundation. We help you maintain maximum security, compliance, and resilience, and you trust us with your applications and data. And our security begins at the hardware level, and it goes all the way up the stack. And you have full control of your applications. That's really, really important point. You have control of your applications and your data. Nobody can access them, not even us. So with that secure foundation, you can start scaling. Our global infrastructure spans more than 3.7 million miles of fiber optic cable. We connect 245 countries and territories across our regions, availability zones, and edge locations. It's literally like the entire world. So over the last year, we've expanded our network backbone capacity by 80% to support low latency data transfer, to meet resource needs, and power all the AWS building blocks that we are going to talk about today. So I want to start with the first building block, compute. I want a show of hands, raise your hands, how many of you remember the days of server rooms and do-it-yourself data centers, servers in closets, things like that? I do. I remember putting in microwave on top of buildings, building data closets, and connecting servers. Today, you can get as much of that compute as you need from multiple options almost instantaneously. For example, Amazon EC2 has more than 850 instance types. So whether you're building a simple constituent website or a complex AI model, AWS is where you'll find the robust compute for almost any workload you need. And our customers consistently tell us that choice and flexibility are the critical components for meeting the needs of these complex compute infrastructures. With Gen AI, more of you will need the compute to train and run inference on models. Many AI workloads run on NVIDIA GPUs, and AWS is the best place to run those. It kind of defines our 14-year partnership with NVIDIA. Innovation is at the core of it, like the new P6 family of instances that feature Blackwell GPUs, and including the upcoming GB200 superchips. But a few years ago, we had a crazy, wild idea at AWS. What if we built our own custom chips? That led to Graviton, our first custom silicon. Today's fourth-generation Graviton chips are up to 45% faster than Graviton 3, with 60% less energy consumption for the same price performance. This means customers can modernize their workloads while significantly reducing operational cost and their carbon footprint. Graviton led to Inferentia and Trainium. Those are our AI chips that provide exceptional performance at significantly lower cost. Leading foundation model providers use Trainium 2 to slash their AI training costs. Model providers like Anthropic. Every day, millions of people use Anthropic's Claude models to help write analyze data, solve complex problems, and together, AWS and Anthropic are continuously advancing the future of generative AI. Claude Opus 4 and Claude Sonnet 4 debuted on Amazon Bedrock just a couple of weeks ago. It's great news for builders as they are smarter, faster, and more affordable models. You're going to hear a lot about smarter and faster today. Intelligence and speed are mandatory for defense and national security agencies. They need to operate with the most advanced technologies, and they need to protect and secure our nations. These capabilities dramatically accelerate analysis and help reduce errors and uncover deeper insights. And I'm so thrilled to announce that we are extending our support for the US government's classified missions with the new AWS Secret West region. I'm pleased to announce that Amazon intends to launch this second secret region by the end of the year. These regions are accredited to support workloads up to the secret classification level. Our first guest, which I'm incredibly excited to join us, is keenly aware of the speed and scale and innovation that AWS provides for national security. She's going to tell us more about how the broader defense and intelligence community uses cloud, AI, and zero trust to support their critical work. Please join me in welcoming the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Tulsi.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you know, before I read this, I was reading it and I started to feel a little inadequate. So I'm going to read it anyway. Thank you so much for being here, Director Gabbard. We know you're incredibly busy. You and your teams are safeguarding us and everyone around the world. So I just want to say thank you so much, and it's really our privilege to have this time with you. So thank you.
Thank you for the invitation, and great to see such a wonderful crowd here today.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to not let comparison be the thief of joy for myself, but you've had such a remarkable trajectory. You were born in American Samoa, raised in Hawaii. You served in the Hawaii State Legislature, the Hawaii National Guard, the U.S. Army Reserve, the U.S. House of Representatives. You served in Iraq and Kuwait. I'm reading this list and I'm thinking, the House is probably the toughest part of all of that. But
you're right.
But now you're serving as the top intelligence official in the United States with the opportunity to really reinvigorate the role. Can you share with us about your journey? What have you learned? What continues to really drive you today?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much again. And to sum it up in a short period of time, I'll just say that when I was 21 years old and I was elected to the state legislature in Hawaii, I did not at all ever think about, well, this is the first step towards a career in politics, or thinking that I would do this for the next 20 years. It was really centered around something that I'm grateful to my parents for instilling in us. I'm the fourth of 5 kids, was a deep sense of duty and service, and a recognition, and something I was glad to experience from a young age, that I was happiest when I was doing things for others. And so growing up as a teenager in Hawaii, my desire, or my running for office at a young age, really came from the fact that I saw problems that needed to be solved, and leaders in positions of power to solve them who either were ignorant to the problems or saw them and chose to do nothing. And that experience in, first of all, seeing the impact of what a person can do when you choose to take action to solve problems for the best interest of the people and in service to others, what an incredible and humbling experience that is. And that's really been the guiding light for me throughout all of the things that I've had the opportunity to do in my life, enlisting because of the terrorist attack on 9/11, volunteering to deploy to Iraq, and always searching and chasing for those positions and opportunities for impact. And so as I served in Congress for 8 years representing Hawaii's 2nd District, we have 2 members of Congress. I was grateful to have the district that covered every island in the state except for urban Honolulu, downtown Honolulu. So when I'd fly back from here to Hawaii, usually every other weekend, much of my time was spent island hopping, working, to go and see everyone there. But I served on the Armed Services and Foreign Affairs committees at the time. And again, I could not have, and it never crossed my mind that I would one day be the Director of National Intelligence. And when I was nominated for this position, a lot of people questioned, what are your qualifications? You didn't come from an intelligence background. But really my argument that I made to senators who were making the decision of whether or not to confirm me for this position has really proven to be very true now that I'm here, which is I was a customer of intelligence products, both in the military, deployed, and here at home, as well as a member of Congress for 8 years. And in both cases experienced the value of it, the critical value of that timely, relevant, objective intelligence, the mechanisms of delivery for that intelligence so that it's applicable and operational, but also in a lot of ways experience frustration and disappointment with those intelligence products. And it was interesting to see, I left Congress in January of 2021, and going back now and speaking to many of my former colleagues in the House, many senators, and they still expressed a lot of the same frustrations that I felt. That much of what we were briefed on was already reported in a newspaper or on cable TV news. And that even if it was quality reporting, it was coming too late for our decision makers and policymakers to actually operationalize that intelligence reporting. And so I'm grateful to be in a position where I've identified some problems and we're seeking to solve them.
All right, that's great. Thank you for your service. You were confirmed in February, so speaking of confirmation, got through that. You were confirmed in February.
That was something.
Yeah. Over these past few months, 4 or 5 months, what have been some of the most pressing priorities for the intelligence community? What have you identified are the things that are most pressing for us?
Yeah, really, it's about getting after our core mission. All of you here are familiar with bureaucracies and dealing with them. And unfortunately, with bureaucracies, they're not inherently negative, but unfortunately, processes get in the way of delivery of outcomes and solutions. And so really the primary focus of mine has been for not only the ODNI as an organization, but across the intelligence community, is making sure that we are solely focused on what our core mission is, which is to deliver that quality intelligence that's relevant, timely, and objective to those who need it, whether they be out in the field or those who are decision makers, foremost of which, of course, is the President of the United States. Part and parcel with that, as we take a first principles approach in assessing my organization and the intelligence community elements, is how do we, modernize, I think is a word that's overused, but how do we look at the available tools that exist largely in the private sector to make it so that our intelligence professionals, both collectors and analysts, are able to focus their time and energy on the things that only they can do. And so this is where, a lot of the work that we're doing with AWS and other organizations really is searching for those tools that we know are available, that you guys spend a lot of time building, and how we can best apply those to make sure that we are accomplishing our core mission. And then, of course, focusing on what are the greatest threats that we face and how can we maximize our intelligence collection and analysis capabilities to have the best oversight and visibility, again, to best inform our policymakers so we can ensure ultimately the safety, security, and freedom of the American people.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And, we've been one of those partners for many, many years, and we're committed to do it. We have teams and teams of people that are building and thinking about how to support that mission. And I just announced we're launching a new Secret West region by the end of the year to hopefully help with that innovation. How do you see the intelligence community deploying artificial intelligence and machine learning today?
I think that we've made progress, but there's so much room. There's so much room for growth and more application of AI and machine learning. As you know, there's been an intelligence community chatbot that's been deployed across the enterprise, opening up and making it possible for us to use AI applications in the top secret clouds has been a game changer. Once again, looking across all of the IC elements, these are tools that are better helping us get after our mission. We've seen in some ways in some of the intelligence community elements, but perhaps not others, how AI is being used with HR, with kind of basic systems that we need. And so what we're looking at is are they working? Are there better tools? If we already have the right tools, we can save a lot of money if we in the OD&I are basically purchasing those tools that can be used across all 18 intelligence community elements. So there's a lot of opportunity. A lot of this, I think, comes for some folks who've been working in the community for a long time, a change in culture and a change in maybe it's really about education, about what tools are available and how to relook and rethink how we're doing things to increase those efficiencies and effectiveness. And I think that's really one of the key things that I've been pushing our workforce to do is take a step back and relook at these problem sets and ask the question that you might not have asked for a long time, which is, why are we doing it this way? Are there better ways to accomplish what we are trying to do? And being really creative and open-minded in what solutions are available that we may not know about. One of the things that we're doing that, again, it sounds very simple, these problems that are sometimes presented as very complex, when we say, okay, let's just break it down and be very, very simple in how we're approaching them. One that we're doing right now is creating unclassified spaces at LX. It's crazy that, when we have people who need to go out and have a Zoom call with someone, they got to go sit in the car outside and take that call. There are rules in place that make it very difficult for people who are working in the private sector to come in and meet with our professionals and have robust conversations about exactly this. What solutions are you bringing to our work to make it so that we can better accomplish our mission? So we're making it harder for ourselves than we need to, and something as simple as creating unclassified spaces in our building is one of the ways we're trying to get after that.
That's great. It sounds like that there are a lot of innovations or a lot of opportunities that are ripe for AI, and you're pushing the teams and the organizations to go find those to work better and faster and innovate, and that's just great to hear. So I understand you've put down some new structures in place to support that kind of innovation and support that kind of thinking, and that's the Directors Initiative Group. So tell us more about that. Tell us why that's necessary and what you think the group's going to drive, what you hope to drive, and how you think that'll all turn out.
So I saw very quickly coming into this role how the deluge of day-to-day tasks and churn can quickly suck up all of the time in the day and not really leave space for focusing on where we want to be tomorrow. Where do we want to be next year? How do we really get after innovation within the intelligence community? So I created the Directors Initiative Group so that we have basically a team of special teams that are focused on these projects, and that is what they are doing. They are focused on what we in the military would call, they are the future ops team, the FUOps team. And then, of course, we have others in the organization who are focusing on the day-to-day deliverables that we are required to bring forward. A couple of examples of the application of AI and machine learning that we've already used in this Directors Initiative Group has been around declassification. We have released thousands, tens of thousands of documents related to the assassinations of JFK and Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and we have been able to do that through the use of AI tools far more quickly than what was done previously, which is to have humans go through and look at every single one of these pages. So looking at classification and declassification, looking for things, for example, that might be sensitive for living family members to be made aware of. So we've been able to do this and actually procure more tools to be able to make that possible. I think the other example I'll mention is some of the tools that we've been able to use that allow us to aggregate through the open source enterprise a lot more now than we used to before. 10,000 hours of media content, for example, that normally would take 8 people 48 hours to comb through, now takes 1 person 1 hour through the use of some of the AI tools that we have here. So those are a few of many examples that this Directors Initiative Group is focused on. Again, not only for OD&I, but really for us to be able to provide these efficiencies and these tools across the entire enterprise, and to support those unique and specific tools for entities like NGA and NRO and the GeoInt space that are phenomenal. And again, operationalizing intelligence so that we don't collect intelligence just to have it, but to make sure it is applicable and usable and operational both for all of our customers.
That's fantastic. Okay, one last question while we have you.
Yes.
While we were able to grab this time with you, what feedback or thoughts or anything for industry as we're engaging with the broader IC, with OD&I, what feedback or thoughts do you have for us on how we should be engaging and what we should be thinking about, particularly in this new era of AI and machine learning and infrastructure at scale?
First I want to just recognize your focus in your opening remarks on kind of the origins of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And what that actually means, though, and it's something that I keep at the forefront of my mind, is our founding documents. Next year is the 250th anniversary of our country, and it's a good time for all of us, whether you work in government or not, to really reflect on the power of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. And for us, those documents being the North Star in the work that we do, especially around intelligence collection, to make sure that we are operating within the confines of what the Constitution empowers us to do, but also being inspired by the ingenuity that our founding fathers had. When you go back and look, the majority of them were under the age of 30.
I'm jealous, but yeah.
And that's where, when we look at some of the limitations that we may place on ourselves, it's really inspiring to go back and look at those who founded this country, how great, how they were great visionaries that laid down the pathway for us to be here. And so as we go forward, I think I just encourage you to continue looking at opportunities for us to build these partnerships and recognize, at least under my leadership, I want to get us away from having the government trying to build tech solutions for itself, because it's really not what the government is best at doing, but really focusing on buying and purchasing solutions wherever we can, so that our workforce can really focus on the things that we are very good at and have exclusive responsibilities to fulfill.
Well, it's a compelling vision. We're excited about the future, and I know we're at AWS committed to help supporting that, and we're proud. We're a proud partner of the national security and defense community. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here today and taking the time to speak with us, Director
Thank you.
Gabbard.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Great job.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. It's truly remarkable how the national security community is transforming their operations using AI. And we're committed to supporting our federal government customers, our state and local government customers, and all around the world, and advancing U.S. leadership in AI. Those aren't just words for us. We're backing that up with meaningful action. This past week, Amazon announced plans to invest at least $30 billion in AI infrastructure across Pennsylvania and North Carolina. We hope, thank you, we hope these investments in advanced computing systems create the technological backbone to power the generative and agentic AI era. By building this robust infrastructure, we're not only helping transform their operations and accelerate breakthroughs, we intend to strengthen America's position at the forefront of global innovation and support the United States in remaining the world's leading AI country. We're so excited about these investments. But let's go back to the building blocks. And let's talk about storage. Developers used to spend months or even years building, configuring, and managing storage solutions. It made it slow, it made it hard, it made it difficult to scale. So in 2006, Amazon launched Amazon S3. And at the time, it was revolutionary. I was at a different company when this service launched nearly 20 years ago. And our teams and I knew a fair amount about storage at that time, and we had built storage. And we were building applications. And we were building a pretty meaningful application, and we leveraged this new thing called S3 to do it. And the first month, we got a bill for about $9. $9. The bill was so low that we had a hard time figuring out how to pay it. We couldn't expense it. It literally paused the whole storage industry at the time. It was this first of its kind product. It was super fast, it was super reliable, and the next month we got a bill for $4. So the expense report we submitted costed more than the bill itself. We were the innovators. Today, S3 holds more than 400 trillion objects. It's an inconceivable amount of data. And the data your organization stores in S3 can be used across everything you do in our cloud. So whether it's knowledge bases in Bedrock or business dashboards in Amazon QuickSight or high-performance data analytics in Amazon Redshift, traditional object storage has now become intelligent data management. So whatever your mission, AWS has the storage to make it possible. And if you go beyond storage, AWS offers powerful solutions to help customers organize and analyze your data. The data products often rely on the next big building block, databases. We have databases for nearly every kind of data and use case that you can imagine. And our databases are architected to maintain consistency as your data scales across distributed systems. All of this is done to help you break down the data silos and unlock more value from your information. With virtually unlimited scalability, zero infrastructure management, and fully serverless design, you can easily implement multi-region and active capabilities, and you have complete control over where your data resides. Today, all your analytics and AI workloads, they often draw from the same data sources, so that makes governance even more important. Customers tell us all the time that one of their biggest challenges is working with unstructured, inconsistent, incomplete data. And if your data is messy, you increase the risk of misuse and non-compliance. So how do you get there? How do you achieve full visibility with messy data? You can start with the next generation of Amazon SageMaker, which became generally available earlier this year. So let's say you're an analyst running queries or a scientist preparing raw data for model training. SageMaker Unified Studio centralizes all of your data, analytics, and AI, so you don't have to jump in between different AWS services. And SageMaker Unified Studio, it's powerfully intuitive, and I really encourage you to start using it and experimenting with it today. The Marine Science Foundation is already using SageMaker Unified Studio. They're leveraging deep learning and AI in a coral reef preservation project. They're doing this to understand and mitigate the human impact on rapidly deteriorating ocean systems. It's important because half of the new cancer research efforts use marine organisms. So with AWS, the Marine Science Foundation is transforming how reefs are safeguarded for future generations. And if you're in healthcare, SageMaker Unified Studio is it's essentially like an advanced MRI for your data. And while data is a challenge for a lot of us, for most of us, it's particularly pronounced in healthcare. A lot of our healthcare and life sciences data goes unused because it's siloed, it's unstructured, and our goal at AWS is to help healthcare organizations decipher this data and to gain actionable insights and deliver outcomes. In February, healthcare providers ranked AWS best in class. AWS provides robust reliability, security, and data privacy, and our cloud-powered solutions help enable customers to advance research and enhance patient care. And our commitment extends beyond technology. Over the past year, we announced $20 million in investment supporting research and innovation for women's and children's health and cancer. This includes $10 million to launch the Cancer AI Alliance. It's a national consortium which aims to accelerate research and treatments. Memorial Sloan Kettering is a world-leading cancer center and a founding member of this alliance. In a moment, Offodile will tell us how MSK uses AWS to increase their pace of innovation, unlock health data, and personalize care. But first, let's watch this video.
As one of the world's most respected comprehensive centers devoted exclusively to cancer,
hi, how are you?
Memorial Sloan Kettering has welcomed patients from around the world for more than 140 years. Our 21,000 physicians, scientists, nurses, and staff are all united by a relentless dedication to our mission, ending cancer for life. More than 25 research centers support our treatment of over 400 types of cancer. And the collaboration between our scientists and doctors means that new discoveries move rapidly from the laboratory to the bedside. Personalized treatment plans and world-class compassionate care are ingrained in everything we do, which is why MSK is consistently ranked by U.S. News & World Report as one of the top 2 cancer hospitals in the country. And we're proud to give back. Our educational programs train the next generation of clinical and scientific leaders, both here in New York and around the globe. Every day, the people of MSK come together to care for our patients and to push the frontier of discovery. United, we are unstoppable.
Please welcome Memorial Sloan Kettering Chief Strategy Officer, Anaeze Offodile.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it is not an exaggeration to say in modern society, cancer is probably the defining chronic condition that we face in America. This year alone, 2 million people will be diagnosed with cancer for the first time. And of those, most of them, 40% of Americans, will have cancer diagnosis in their lifetime. 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women. So just think about that for a second. And maybe somewhat dramatically, if you're to count yourself, the person to your left, and the person to your right, unfortunately, one of you will be personally impacted by this disease. That's jarring. And that kind of emotional valence is what led to the National Cancer Act in 1971 that designated MSK, and my team members are here, as an NCI cancer center. And that law established a war on cancer. And I'll say we've come a long way since then. We've understand what's driving this prevalence. it's genetics, it's lifestyle, it's environmental exposure. I'll say the biggest insight that we've gotten is no cancer is the same. Even for the same diagnosis, it tends to behave differently. So say it differently, I think cancer is the ultimate big data challenge. So if you move from screen left to right, listed here are all the various types of data that our patients generate as we take care of them. Some multiple times a day, varying scales for a single patient. Now multiply that by the million patients we engage with in a given year at Sloan Kettering. That's a lot of data. And in the last 5 years, over 90% of cancer data has been generated. So think about that velocity of data more so. And Dave's talk really teed me up because, as you said accurately, there's a lot of silos in healthcare. It's typically unstructured, purpose-built, relational data. So it's key that we have a technology partner like AWS to help us make it secure, ensure the patient privacy, make it usable, make it standardized, and make it integrated. And even if you do that, that's necessary but not sufficient because there's just so much data coming at us every single day. No one person can make sense of all of it. So that sense-making is where AI comes in. And whether it's agentic models, NLP models, or LLMs, we're able, across these use cases, think about how we can use this data to best serve our patients. Personalized therapies, personalized recommendations to get the best outcomes for our patients. That's a data issue, that's a technology issue, and that's where we are today. Now, this could be fairly abstract. So I'm actually going to tell a story about a fictional patient, but her journey, we'll call her Simone, is one that many patients go through every day at places like MSK and elsewhere. So Simone, she's 40, non-smoker, is a management consultant. And over the last 3 months, let's say she's had a dry cough. Thought it was allergies, didn't quite go away. So she went to a doctor, and he ordered what doctors should do, which is go to chest X-ray. Very old technology, came out in the early 1900s. She got the chest X-ray, and I'll say her story, if it was typical, will end with a small dot in the right upper lobe, and the radiologist may say, I see something, but come back in 3 months. That's a typical play out of that story. But today, with LLMs and algorithms, we are now able to say, you know what? Based on millions of images of multiple patients around the country, we can now say, you know what? Let's look a little bit closer at that one spot. So we get a chest CT, and unfortunately, it's even more concerning. So we get a biopsy, and that biopsy shows adenocarcinoma. Get to that in a second, but this story just tells you by saving 3 months, we've shortened the time to diagnosis and prevented this cancer from getting even worse. So it's adenocarcinoma, so it's a non-small cell lung cancer, and this type of cancer is typical in non-smokers, unfortunately, and of those, 2/3 are women. Lung cancer is the #1 cause of cancer deaths in women today. So that's a very scary diagnosis. So if you're Simone, what do? You can go online. Many consumer-facing apps and websites can give you up-to-date information today on what this means for her, her family, what's next, what's the typical journey. And at MSK, she'll get a biopsy and will get a genomic driver of her cancer. We know that to be EGFR, and based on that, we can now create personalized therapies based on her history, her lifestyle, and the genomic profile. And if the next best thing is surgery, we're now able to connect her in to surgery. And even within that very technical undertaking, we can have AI through computer vision make her robotic surgery be as seamless as possible and allow the surgeon to only take out all that he or she needs to clear the cancer. That's key because sparing as much tissue as possible gives her a better quality of life, less time in the hospital, and maybe not needing oxygen. So that's a really, really important outcome to do personalized AI-supported surgery. And after surgery, we may learn that she has a clinical trial that AI can match her to the trial, or that her genomic driver has a special targeted therapy that can give her a better chance of cure. So this journey of Simeon I just laid out is actually not sci-fi. It's happening today at places like MSK and other places in the country. And this gets to the promise and the potential of AI to have precision medicine that is scalable. So through Simeon, we can learn how others have fared and update all those learnings with her own personal journey and make that available to patients who come through our doors every single day. So at MSK, our mission is to end cancer for life. It's why we exist. It's what binds our people, our science, our culture. But all three aspects of that, as I've laid out just now, can be and are and will be optimized with technology. And that's why having a partner like AWS, having an AI-first posture is foundational for MSK and for our future and current patients. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ani. It's an honor to work with Memorial Sloan Kettering and the oncology community to transform cancer research and treatment through AI and cloud innovation. This brings us to the final building block, inference. Generative AI has evolved from simple image and text generation to multimodal models that think, reason, and act. The problems that Gen AI can solve will make inference part of every single application that you build. Gen AI will transform how public sector operates. It will change how you implement and manage critical programs and services. It will reshape how you interact and serve with constituents. And AWS is the best place, the easiest, the most performant place to build and scale your Gen AI applications. That's why last year on this stage, we launched the Generative AI Impact Initiative. It's a $50 million investment to support public sector organizations using AWS Generative AI. Since then, almost 300 organizations have received AWS promotional credits, training, and technical expertise for their projects. This initiative is still open for another year. There's so much opportunity here, and I want you to go and sign up today. Whether it's through the Impact Initiative or independent of it, a lot of our customers' Gen AI applications are built with Bedrock. This is because Bedrock has everything you need right out of the box. Its flexibility and depth unleash new possibilities. Vanderbilt University wanted to provide secure and cost-effective AI capabilities across its campus. They developed Amplify, an open-source platform built on AWS that uses Bedrock and provides access to multiple models, maintains institutional data control, and features custom AI agents for specific use cases. The school estimates cost savings up to $25 million over 5 years versus their enterprise licensing cost. Researchers at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute use Anthropic's Claude models on Bedrock. They built ConsultBot, an AI clinical decision support tool that interprets blood gas tests with more speed and precision. ConsultBot promises to save physicians time and accuracy in testing. It can also help reduce medical errors. Dana-Farber and Vanderbilt are great examples of the power of Bedrock, a fully managed service. Bedrock has 5 key differentiators for building Gen AI applications. And the first of those is model choice. Having flexibility to move between models is vital. With the broadest selection of fully managed models, Bedrock lets you build securely, quickly, and cost-effectively, all doing that without setting up or managing infrastructure. Among the model families on Bedrock is our own Amazon Nova. With 7 different models, Nova lets you choose the one that's best suited for your use case. So whether it's coding or translation or creative content generation, I used Nova to create these slides. You can go to nova.amazon.com and start building today. The next differentiator is customization. Incorporating your own data helps you get the value out of AI. With Bedrock, you can easily configure data of any type that you already store in AWS into a knowledge base to use in retrieval augmented generation to produce precise, contextually relevant responses. Next is trust and safety. Bedrock Guardrails helps you block harmful or unwanted inputs or outputs for your generative AI apps. Using automated reasoning, Bedrock fights AI hallucinations with math techniques that help prevent factual errors and provide verifiable proof that a response is accurate. Then there's affordability. Gen AI can be expensive. So we built features like model distillation and intelligent prompt routing. Model distillation uses the outputs of a complex model to train a smaller model on a specific task or use case. Bedrock's distilled models are up to 500% faster and up to 75% less expensive than the larger models. And intelligent prompt routing lets you select multiple models for your application, and you can let Bedrock choose which one to use. This reduces cost by up to 30% without losing the accuracy. And finally, utility. AI should make things simple. Agents are all the buzz because they don't just respond, they act. The agentic AI race is here. Whether you're taking advantage of specialized agents in Amazon Q, fully managed agents from Bedrock, or building your own using open source frameworks, AWS is the best place to do it, and it makes it possible. So let's take NetSmart, a healthcare software company and an early adopter of augmenting builders with Gen AI. More than 300 of their engineers use Amazon Q for a variety of automation tasks. They turn to the Q agents for code generation, unit testing, code upgrades, and transformation across their entire software development lifecycle. FINRA, or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, also deploys Q as part of an initiative to reimagine and streamline its entire development processes. Q has improved code quality, it's helped reduce technical debt at FINRA, and it's accelerated their Java upgrades. FINRA plans to onboard its entire engineering organization to Q by the end of this year. And if you go beyond software development, agents can help you accelerate cloud migration. We've taken all this knowledge that we've gained over the last 20 years of cloud migrations, and we've integrated it into AI capabilities that help you modernize with ease. So our agents streamline key migration paths like .NET and VMware and mainframes. For .NET, agents find incompatibilities, generate a transformation plan, they'll even refactor source code. Customers have modernized their .NET applications up to 4 times faster, and they've reduced Windows licensing costs by up to 40%. With VMware, agents automatically convert networking configurations and firewall rules into native AWS constructs, and they do it up to 80 times faster than traditional approaches. And agents do a number of other things, even refactoring COBOL to Java to speed up mainframe migrations. So what used to take years can be transformed into months. I want to shift gears for a minute and focus on education. Around the world, education and research customers face an environment with fewer resources and even more constraints. But their work can't stop. They have to continue meeting their vital objectives. This is where technology can help. AI promises to reinvent the education experience through tailored learning and skilling. Pearson is the world's lifelong learning company and a longtime AWS partner. Recent research by Pearson found that inefficient career transitions and learning gaps cost the US economy $1.1 trillion annually. So earlier this year, we expanded our collaboration to accelerate the delivery of AI-powered, personalized learning products and services. Together, we're going to make learning more effective, more efficient, and accessible for millions of people. To tell us more, I'm really excited to bring on stage Pearson CEO, Omar Abbosh.
Thank you, Dave, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. At Pearson, our purpose is to help people realize the life they imagine through learning. And that's what I'd like to give you a little peek behind the curtain today of how we think about what is possible with AI in the world of learning and education. I'd like to start with introducing you to Verity. Verity is 15 years old. And like many 15-year-olds, she's trying to figure out her way in the world, and she's at the beginning of her lifelong learning journey. With AI, we have the ability to help Verity and her teachers navigate all the changes that we see in the world today. Please roll the video.
Meet Verity. She's 15, bright, but a little bored. She's doing fine in her classes, but she is just missing that special spark. Her teacher wants to help, but let's face it, between notes from other teachers, behavior reports, and a mountain of test scores, it's tough to spot the signal in the noise. That's where Pearson's AI teaching assistant steps in to help.
Hi, Naomi. How can I help you today?
Hey, how is Verity really doing?
Good question. Verity's science scores are fine, but her in-class engagement is a bit off. Based on how much she loves doing volunteer work, she might simply need to see how her schoolwork relates to her future.
That's interesting. Can you recommend a few possible learning pathways to help her?
Of course. Based on her reports, it looks like Verity might be a future doctor.
Fast forward, and Verity is now in college, juggling science classes and volunteering at a local clinic. Thanks to conversational AI, Pearson pedagogy packs both personalized practice and personality.
Hey, Verity, ready to prep for that midterm?
Yes. Can you please explain that chemical versus physical change thing from last week's lecture?
You got it. So, you want to be a doctor, right? You know how when you go to the doctor's and there's a hand sanitizer? When you rub it on your hands, do you ever notice a cooling sensation as your hands get dry?
Yup.
That's just ethanol molecules going from liquid to vapor. Same molecules, new vibe.
Later in med school, Verity trains as a pediatrician with the help of Pearson's multimodal AI platform. In this AI scenario, Verity completes a two-step simulation. First, diagnosing cases of pneumonia, and then explaining the treatment plan to the kids' parents. The power of such authentic learning and assessment experiences is that Verity's skills are not just for grades. They're an accurate representation of what she can actually do, securely stored in her personal skills wallet. During residency, Verity's digital skills wallet logs every procedure and certification, so she and her supervisors can see her emerging capabilities at a glance. Now Verity's living her dream, helping kids, mentoring others, and always asking, what's next? For Verity, learning isn't just something you do in school. It's how you continue to create the life you imagine.
There you go. So it may not astonish you, but Verity's career path and the whole video story that you just saw there were built with our internal content generation tools that sit on top of Amazon Bedrock that you just heard about from Dave. These are enabling us to create more beautiful, faster, richer visual content across all of our products right now. However, not everyone's life is as beautifully designed as Verity's. The US today is the world's largest and most formidable economy, and yet 1 in 5 Americans struggle with basic literacy. More than 30 million Americans don't have a high school diploma. US math skills have declined meaningfully in the last 5 years. And we know that 65% of job skills are going to be fundamentally transformed with AI and technology by 2030. This has very meaningful consequences for the health and wealth outcomes of all those people. As Dave mentioned in our research, we found that in the US alone, there are people slipping through the cracks between school and work and between jobs, and it costs the American economy about $1.1 trillion every single year. And that's about 5% of the whole of the GDP of the country. If you could take just a few weeks reduction in that learning to earning phase and put that back in the economy, that adds about $40 billion worth of earnings back into the economy every single year. So the bottom line is that we have a well-established skills gap that is at risk of becoming a skills chasm without bold and courageous action now. At Pearson, action is what we're really focused on. And so we know from years of experience working with AI that when it's thoughtfully designed, it can really help student engagement with the learning concepts that build the cognitive skills that we all need in order to succeed in a changing economy. And it helps people develop the skills that are critical in preparing a workforce that's resilient against a future where the technology skills are evolving faster than the human skills. About 2 years ago, we started rolling out AI across all of our higher ed education tools. And you can see a little bit of an example back here. Actually, I've gone a bit too far. I'm going to go back one, Morgan, if you don't mind. And what we found is that when you apply the AI in the flow of the student's study, and you actually help them engage with the AI, you can help them develop new cognitive skills and higher order outcomes. So in these AI tools that you see here, we have practice questions, summarization, and a student can engage with an AI interactive tutor right in the digital courseware platform. What we find is they get more than just their results, they get actual learning from this. So in the last year, we were running giant trials on large numbers of people, so with 2 million students in the last year who engaged with the AI tools that we gave them in the courseware platforms. We found that those who were using the courseware AI were 4x better in terms of learning outcomes overall, and that about a third of those students were putting input into the AI that demonstrated truly higher cognitive ability and higher order reasoning skills. And so we're taking our Pearson learning materials and our learning science with our learning science know-how and combining it with AWS technology to help the next generation of students. So for example, in the UK, we've taken our AI learnings and applied them to an exam practice tool for young learners who need to study and prepare for their high-stakes school exams. This delivers guided practice that helps students go deeper into the materials, and it gives them instant feedback and helps build flashcards for memory development. And we know that it's that kind of positive reinforcement in the flow of study with the repetition that learning science tells us is needed to build the critical thinking skills and develop better retention overall. Also, the AI tool importantly flags the learning gaps to teachers and parents to help students know where they need to intervene and where more practice is required. I think everyone in this room knows that learning takes more than technology. It takes a great leader to guide and inspire students. I suspect that every single one of you knows the moment in your life where a teacher influenced you and inspired you as well. We know that EdTech alone won't solve all the problems. It won't be the full answer for the future. But we know that when you put a human in the loop of learning with great technology, you can achieve wonderful outcomes. It's never been more important to support the millions of teachers who are teaching the tens of millions of students around the world and preparing them for the next generation of work. We know that 43% of teachers spend about 3 hours every week just in planning lessons. Now imagine if you could take that lesson planning time and put it back into coaching kids in the classroom. Our Smart Lesson Generator tool that you see here helps global English language teachers assemble quizzes, practice questions, reading comprehension, and assignments. And it draws from Pearson's massive library of English content and generates customized lessons literally in seconds. In our Connections Academy virtual schools, we've given teachers AI tools to help them with coaching K-12 students. And like Smart Lesson Generator, the assessments here are aligned to the school's curriculum, exactly at the right grade level, the subject, the course unit. And it takes minutes for teachers to build a range of tests from multiple choice to essay questions, and our teachers are telling us that they're saving literally half the time in the preparation, which is a big deal. And again, you see the teachers combining with the technology are helping students with personalized learning journeys. I think by now you'll have suspected that we've been working with AWS to create many of these tools on Amazon Bedrock. So Verity's journey that I showed you a little bit there at the beginning isn't simply a possibility. It's the beginning of a genuine reinvention of how learning and education works across millions and millions of people. So you can imagine a world with AI agents and tools in the hands of teachers and students supporting them, higher education products that deliver actually better learning outcomes, and workplace tools and resources, including digital wallets and credential management, to help people in their professional and personal journeys. I really believe that if you aren't working with AI agents today or using AI every day in your life, I think you will be soon. It's a future that is becoming our reality. Personally, I'm optimistic about how we can apply all these innovations in service of people. The technology is there for us humans. So AI isn't just a great disruptor for the world. It's also a solution that makes us smarter, helps us solve the skills gap that I spoke about, and help everyone achieve better prosperity. So thank you all. It's wonderful to chat to you all today. I'm going to hand back to Dave, who I think has a little surprise from Pearson to share with you now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Omar. Your leadership will help define the future of personalized learning. Picking up new skills and competencies is valuable for everyone. Pearson, AWS, and all of our collaborators and peers in education believe in lifelong learning. And as proof of that, we invite all of you to take a free AI skills assessment to learn more about your strengths and growth areas. Just scan the QR code and visit genaitestdrive.com. I also encourage you to explore the many other learning and skill-building opportunities right here at DC Summit. There are numerous training partners and pathways to help grow your career. Get started by checking out our AWS training and certification and public sector kiosks in the Expo Hall. Now, before we close, I'm so happy to see some special guests in the audience with us. I think they're sitting right over here, right here. So if you're a student from the AWS Information Infrastructure Pre-Apprenticeship Program, please stand up. This group graduates today from a training program developed by industry experts and implemented with our longtime partners from Northern Virginia Community College and the Virginia Community College system. So I've got some exciting news. Those certificates you're about to receive represent more than just your graduation. I'm thrilled to announce that all of you will receive a full-time job offer from AWS. Congratulations. It's just great to see this new cohort, a group of people who will literally help build the next generation of the cloud. And AWS remains the best place to build in the cloud, with the broadest and deepest services and features to help drive modernization. We provide all the ingredients that help bring ideas to life. Just like those original cornerstones of this city, everything goes back to building blocks. They're fundamental. They're the fundamental units that can combine to develop more complex systems and solutions. Compute, storage, database, and inference will help enable you to transform your organization and take your mission on the journey from imagination to reality. So when I look around this room, I see hundreds of builders full of amazing ideas. You might not build the next great city, but you could. Or you could build something even greater, something that once seemed unimaginable. So go build, go create, and let's change the world together. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the summit.